Hey, Gerard, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you today?
I am well. Sorry about that.
Well, we are too. It's just kind of what you have to deal with these days, trying to get all these wires connected and everybody going, but glad we got that worked out. So it's been pretty busy, I assume, in your world. Lots of clients, I would have to imagine, that have sought to take advantage of the federal Paycheck Protection Program, and I know you have a great deal of expertise and experience on that.
Yeah, it has been crazy several weeks, Gerard. Literally millions of loans have been made since the president signed this act back in late March, and it continues. I talked to some of my bank friends this week, in fact, and they're continuing to process these loans daily, and so it's been really busy. It's been a lot of pressure, really. You think about banks and their infrastructure. They're really not set up to handle that volume of loans in that period of time, but they did a really good job. I look back, and overall, they've got over $500 million or $500 billion, I'm sorry, has been distributed to small businesses just in the last few weeks.
So there's I guess that means, then, Jerry, there's still monies available, right? Because there was two tranches. Is that right? A $350 and a $310, as I recall.
Right. The first tranche ran out just in less than 2 weeks, in fact, and then the second tranche was funded. And I think as of Wednesday, I think $193 billion of that had been approved, and so there's just over 20 billion left available for folks trying to get these funds.
So who can apply? Who's eligible, and how do they do that?
Well, it's set up for how the SBA defines a small business, and so you need to be somebody that's generally has 500 or less employees, and that would include sole proprietors and self-employed persons. And you need to have been in business by February 15th of this year. In other words, you couldn't start a business just to get some of this PPP money. And then finally, you have to, part of the application process, you have to sign this certification. That's been a matter of controversy and of interest, but certification says something along the lines that this loan is necessary to support the ongoing operations of your business due to the current economic uncertainty. Again, that's been a little bit of controversy and a lot of questions, but continue to get some clarification out of Washington on that even this week.
Yeah, and as you know, and help our listeners with this, there's just continuous guidance released by the IRS, and I know that you guys in the accounting industry, you're accustomed to continuous updated guidance being released by the IRS, sometimes even right before tax day and for purposes of payroll. How many times, Jerry, have we seen guidance released like right before the first payroll has to go out in a year, and it just wreaks havoc on HR and payroll folks and automated systems and so forth. So wanted to talk about two pieces of guidance that I've seen. The first is, it appears that though any funds received, any proceeds received from the PPP loans / grants are not taxable income, that the expenses covered with those loans might not be allowable as deductions.
Yeah, that's one of the things that obviously got a lot of people's attention. I think it's pretty obvious congressional intent that this would be non-taxable, right?
Yeah.
Some smart guy at the IRS found some code out there that said, look, if you spend it on deductible expenses, it becomes taxable. And so that's where we are today. Again, I think it was pretty clear the congressional intent was for this to be tax-free. And so my expectation is that the Congress will go back and clean that up. That's my hope, at least.
And the other one, Jerry, talk to us about what you know about this one. I think just last week, that said if your loan was $2 million and up, I believe, was the threshold, that you're going to have to prove that you weren't, let's say, solvent enough or perhaps didn't have adequate assets at the time you applied for the loan to cover your expenses and to sort of pull you through and tide you over for that 8-week period that these loans are designed to cover. You might have to pay it back.
Yeah, that was when the second tranche of funds came out. The secretary made this comment that all of these loans over $2 million they were going to take a look at, and several under $2 million, and so it kind of put some uncertainty out in the market. And they've come up with some updated guidance since then. In fact, this past Wednesday, they came out and said, "Look, if you're under $2 million, we're going to assume that you made a good faith certification, and we're not going to look at that." But there's some over $2 million that had some concern, and I think maybe the Los Angeles Lakers was one of the groups that got one of these PP $10 million worth, and I think that was a bad look for them. And of course, they gave the money back. I guess they decided that Anthony Davis or LeBron could spot them a few dollars if they got in a crunch.
And of course, $10 million is the threshold on the PPP loans. So you got to imagine a fair number of them do exceed $2 million. Jerry, I've actually got local friends who have said that meet that threshold and did receive greater than $2 million have said, we're thinking about just sending it back. We don't want to hassle with this process we may have to endure of trying to prove to some IRS agent that, no, I really did need that as it comes to it.
Right, and that's the tricky part. There's so much, obviously that certification is somewhat vague, and the thing to consider is current economic uncertainty, and I would suggest that there's still a lot of uncertainty, right? We know the economy's trying to get cranked back up, but we don't know how long it's going to take for these businesses to get back on their feet, and of course it's all based on the facts and circumstances at the time you signed that certification, and so that's been a real controversy and a concern for some clients. But I don't have any personal clients, Gerard, that have given the money back, if you will. The key, I think, is to document your thought process, whatever the things that went into the decision to apply for that. Just have good documentation and to support whatever you decided. Yeah,
and so one of the questions that's come up since this is a loan is if I as a business have to provide some sort of security and collateral.
Yeah, these are a good part. These are the kind of loans even a man like me can get, right? There's no personal guarantee and no collateral. These are 100% guaranteed by the SBA, and so the bank is not at risk for default on these loans.
Yeah. Jerry, thanks so much for coming on and explaining and unpacking some of the details here. Really do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Gerard. Good to talk to you, and see you soon.
Stay safe, my friend. Jerry Goolsby, a partner at BKD, unraveling the details and complexities of the PPP for us. We'll take a break. Be back. SuperTalk, Mississippi.